Chaim with Yontif. It's a certain thing that the Chassidim getting together and celebrating a Yontif. Yontif is not chas v'shalom to ignore the plight that Yidden find themselves in. Chas v'shalom, and other like that I spoke about. Famously, there spoke about in the bringing of right after Yom Kippur. Right after the Yom Kippur War, right? It was Yom Tishrei. What's Yom Tishrei? I'm sorry. Yeah, but in Febrengen spoke about how is it talking about Febrengen when Yidden find himself in a difficult situation. That's what he spoke about the famous Indian of Simcha Peres Geder, and after the Simcha brings the Yeshua to Yidden. So we're saying L'chaim here, and it's a sure thing. Together say L'chaim Yichsidish Yomtiv is Poel Polose and brings the Yeshua for all the Yidden that need it. A few more words on this Indian. There's a number of ways in which the way Yidden are responding and living right now that is very, very strongly, if our eyes are a little bit open, tells us as the Hu B'chaim V'Zara B'chaim. Very, very, very strong. They find them in many different ways. And they spoke about, also very famously, they spoke about the idea of Navi B'Dereinu. And it's something that we see mamish b'muchash in the last since Simchas Torah. In Kama V'Kama Ifanim, we see how, the Rebbe said, if you think about the Rebbe Alts B'Vorent. Rebbe mamish Alts B'Vorent, and if our eyes are a little bit open, we're living out all the inyanim that the Rebbe spoke about. First in the obvious way, which is, Chas v'Shalom, no one wants to say, told you so, right? Especially when it comes to negative things, Chas v'Shalom, and especially the halacha is that a Navi, which says a nevuah, which is in the negative, it doesn't come, it's not a right that it's not a Navi. So we actually hope that the nevuahs that we spoke about, this in actually don't happen. But the poyel we see, mamish b'nei b'aseh b'muchesh, that everything that was warned and predicted, warned, and said, don't do this because this is going to happen, do this because that's going to happen. Mamish kanir b'muchesh for some Israel in Tzichem Raya. Everybody knows, everybody sees it, everybody's seen the videos, everybody's seen the Hanachas, and everything that we spoke about, unfortunately, played out mamish kipshutai. So that's in one oifin, but of course it's not necessarily the way in which Lubavitcher wants to Badimzich Shalom and say, look, I told you so. That's Chas v'Shalom in that way. And in fact, there's a pakertik happening. The Rebbe educated us how to look at Yidden. How to look at Yidden. I mean, it started from the Baal Shem Tov, right? That every Yid is Bavas Eini of the Eibush there, and that Ben Yachid born the Eisik Nusay. And to look at a Yid, and not Chas v'Shalom see a negative, but to dafka see the positive in the other Yid. And that's something that's mamish boilet now. And that Yidden, who are leaders of communities that maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, maybe even less, would have pounced on a situation like this to highlight all the negative and say, look, you see, this is why, v'chulu v'chulu. No one's saying it. Even though it could be very easily, people can easily point fingers and oinshim v'chulu v'chulu, ein laharach b'dvarim, al tiftach peh. But if our eyes are open and we see how the Rebbe's cook, to look at another Yid and to see only the positive, and to highlight only the positive, is something that all Yidden worldwide have embraced on every single level. On every level.
I feel like people were there was some, no? Or earlier? I don't know.
Probably even
like people saying negative things like Israel.
The famous sikha about the Holocaust was much later than the war. The famous sikha about the Holocaust, we never speak about this Indian. Not to speak negative about Yidden, was way after the way after the 6 Day War, after the Yom Kippur War. This attitude didn't.
In the Gulf War,
that attitude died in the last very recent history, and this event, Mama shows it. Zaltan Mishagoyim that nobody listens to. But as Yiddish leaders from every kreis are speaking only positive, only speaking positive about Yidden. It's an incredible thing. And al derech zeh, and similarly, I mean, of course, everybody knows that they spoke about the 6 Day War as the haschala of the Kabul Shefer Gadol. Recently, someone showed to me the printed the back of the the Maimon of Tashkov Ches, they printed the Sikha there. A bomb of a Sikha. There he speaks about the two nevuos of Tkab Shofar for Goyim and for Yidden, how they became excited, how the Hazazah of the First World War and the Second World War was the Hazazah that shook up the whole world, and now there's, with the Six-Day War, there's the Hazazah which is shaking up Yidden, and never there bemoans how Levi would have taken advantage of the Yisraelis, and, right? Because at the time, of course, everyone was taking advantage of the Yisraelis, Mitzvah Tefillin, B'cholu, and the big campaigns of Mitzvah Tefillin, but Lav Dafka did everybody else got on board in that. Lav Dafka. And now, of course, all the snagdas from Mitzvah Tefillin didn't start before the Six-Day War. There's no Mitzvah Tefillin, it all started then. So even as people were watching the Yisraelis, and they were watching the Rebbe take advantage of the Yisraelis and Mitzvah Tefillin, they were still being misnagat. Right? The history is Yedua. Right, he said, expressed a very strong shyness. And here today we see everybody's seeing the Yisraelis, everybody's responding to the Yisraelis, with tzitzis. One of the shluchim pointed out that twice, at least twice, maybe more times, but there was ausgedrückt mitzvah tzitzis. Once b'havla and mitzvah tefillin and tzitzis, and once independently that there was a mitzvah tzitzis. That's about b'havla when there was listening the Tem of Sion. But it's an incredible thing. It's a 180 in terms of Yiddish attitude that the last 3 weeks have shown, seeing positive in Nocha Yidden, and taking on this Eretz, not to say, it's connected to how you look at another Yid. The Snagdis was, like, what's the point of putting on film with someone one time? Besides Zayin came from a Yid, so what's the point? And that Shiloh is not Elal Adas for someone who learned who's a Mechunach by the Rebbe. He's going to come from, not become from, what's in the Geya? Atzmas Mahos is waiting for a tefillin, so he put on tefillin. He's not going to come from, what's the chiluk? First of all, who knows what the future is? And what's the difference what the future is? They wish to standing and waiting for a tefillin. I start thinking about a strategy and a plan. And today, nobody's asking the Shiloh. What are they?
It was time to say about Mishnah.
It was?
That was Magia, that whole day.
That this attitude to the Mishnah.
One Mishnah was a state Mishnah, mitzvah, the mitzvah.
Right. Yeah? It's Haftacha from our Mishnah, yeah? Yeah. But that time is not even Eilal Adas now. It's not even Eilal Shulchan now. Everybody understands that Yidden are this order, and when a Yid's the Shaman is this order, you have to respond, and every mitzvah they do is valuable. So they're putting on tefillin, and they're putting on, they're selling, giving tefillin out, and giving tzitzis out, and Sidurim, and Tilim, and Todas, and all kinds of inyan, and all the things that the Rebbe was doing, and yelling, are you talking, nobody else is seeing this? And whether they're realizing it or not realizing it, whether they're conscious of it or not conscious of it, the Poyal Mamish, they're living out the Rebbe's Nevuah. They're living out there. It took them a long time to educate Lubavitch to see Neshamas this way and to see the world this way. But as now the whole world has completely embraced this way of thinking. It's an incredible. It's like in this way, Lubavitch is allowed to say, "I told you so." The first way, Lubavitch should tell Chas Shalom to say, "I told you so," that this and this is going to happen. Like we said before, if a Navi says a Nevuah that's bad negative and it doesn't happen, Tishkinai is not a Navi. But this is something that Lubavitch should be able to say proudly. We told you. We've been telling you for years that a Yiddish Neshama is a Yiddish Neshama, and that a mitzvah is valuable, and if a Yiddish Neshama is awake, and does a mitzvah, responds, it connects. All the things you've been saying for 50 years, now you can tell the whole Olam, we told you so. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's involved in it. It's an unbelievable American thing that if our eyes are open, Mama said about Alt Bavart. They listen to some of the sikhs that Rebbe could have said them this morning. And they get the Yisraelis, and they get what they are doing, what they aren't doing, what the political leadership are doing or not doing, what they were told this one, they were told that one. It could have been said this morning. And if our eyes are a little bit open, everything they were spoke about, and the way the world is going, and the way the Yidden are going, the way Yisrael is going, it's mamash als bavarant. It's mamash navi b'dereinu. It's ubachayim. It's very, very, very clear in a basa to anybody who's watching. And anybody's a little bit with eyes open. And all the things that we've been made fun of for years, everybody's doing it now. It's an unbelievable thing. And finally, I'll share one more oifen in which this is expressed. Is a friend of mine pointed this out to Kinnis Shluchim. The first time I just want to... The Seder by Yidden is... Every shliach can tell you 1,000 stories. 2 days after Shmini Atzeres, someone called me who He's married to, I'm not sure what kind of conversion girl. And he tells me, I want to be connected to all of my brothers. I need to buy a pair of tefillin. He's been putting on tefillin every day. I mean, like, someone, didn't expect it. He comes to my home for Shabbos when he comes with his parents, like. And every shliach can tell you 1,000 stories like this. I heard a story from the Kinnis HaShluchim. My father told this story. The young wolf in Finland. My father shared the story on Shabbos and Shul. Benjamin says he gets a call one day on Sunday that someone wants to come into the Chabad house. Okay, so someone wants to come to the Chabad house, wherever he was with his family at a park or something, and so he went to the Chabad house to open up. And so he's standing there, so they're talking. And it turns out this young man, this guy grew up a Chassidish Ungarish mishpacha. For whatever reason, he left, and now he's living in Finland. So Benjamin Matziat him, of course, let's put on tefillin. And the young man says, I can't put on tefillin. Whatever scars he has from his experiences, whatever trauma he has, you can't put on tefillin. So you don't want to put on tefillin, like, what are you doing here? He says, I have to connect. And there's some, I have to connect, I have to show up. So he says, look, I can't do it. But he tells Benjamin, do you mind, could you please put on tefillin twice today for me? Because it's not me. He says, like, he says, that's a Marashama talking to with some hosts, and the heck's the Eifen. Salderech, there was a Holocaust survivor here in Montreal who, after the war, left Yiddishkeit. His name was Chaim Rosen. Anyway, he got in touch with my parents. So I was growing up, he was around, and he started coming back. He started getting involved with. He's coming home for Shabbos, for Yom Tov, for Pesach. Started coming to shul to reconnect, and he refused to come Rosh Hashanah to shul. And my father asked him, like, what's this? Well, you're coming back already. He said, look, Rosh Hashanah, the Eibishter makes Gzardin for the year. So are you telling me that Rosh Hashanah of 1942, 1940, 44, God decided 1 million Hungarians are dying that year? I'm not being part of this holiday. That's what he told my father. So my father told him, you're not going to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is greater than my going to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Such a gedank from Yid. So this Simgaman is the same thing. That's when Hashem Ritzich. So he can't even he can't get himself to put on tefillin. Yeah, he will put on tefillin. But even before you get there, that's something that he comes to Chabad house, even when he's living with the kind of scar that doesn't let him put on tefillin, is the guess that his neshama is on fire. And I say all over the world, there's shluchim for shretti stories all over. I'm sure many here have such experiences and know these things. And this is something that the whole world, as I mentioned before, the whole world is recognizing this, not just the Babish. Babish, which has been saying this for years, now the whole frum world is seeing this and taking part in it. Finally, another oifen in which Mamish see hu b'chaim, because in Zara b'chaim, is Ansh min Eseres Gufa. Ansh min Eseres Gufa, when Chabadis all over the world shuls everywhere got the news, more or less finding out what's going on. So there's no WhatsApp to communicate with all the shluchim. Okay, what's the message? What do we say? If Shliach alone, when he's in his own Mokum HaShlichus, he's deciding his own. What's his message now? And the same message all over the world. While other shuls were, slowing down their hakafis and making it less because the Yisrael's and Avelos v'chulu. Shluchim all over the world. I don't know there's any Yotzim Naklal that told the community that Simchas prayed together and that Dafka dance more for them. Our communication, Shluchim all over the world, the same message from the Rebbe. It's a Nes Goloi, actually. If you think about it, it's Moshe Nes Goloi. Thousands of Shluchim and nobody steps out of line. Everybody has the exact same message. No communication. Comes a matzav yid in our face with a thing, and all Shluchim respond to the same message. Halei Doverhu. So it's an unbelievable Merdeka thing, and if our eyes are open, for all the things that we experience, and every time something happens, we can see as the Rebbe Al-Bavorant and what the Rebbe said came through. The last couple of weeks since Simchat Torah is the Muchish Be'eni Basar Mamish. And whether the Olam whether they even know it or not know it, everybody's living out in the voice of the Rebbe Kapshutai. Find Nevuah in the sense that you see what's going to happen in the future. Find the Nevuah in the sense that you push the people in a certain direction. It was educated us to see it in a certain way, to see world events in a certain way, to see things that happen to them in a certain way, and finally the world is catching on. Finally, the world is starting to see it. It's a very big thing, and the Yediyah Shabbat. Never mind the Pa'al Mamish. Someone told me this morning. Chaka told me this morning. He chazed a word from. I can't remember who it was. We said during the 6 Day War, and they were talking about the Hazazah that you're going through. It's a mashpiyah. We said that we also have to have the Hazazah. Right? That's l'chol hareish. But even beyond that, just the etzem Yediyah as a Lubavitcher that was nischanech by the Rebbe, and to have the Rebbe's pair of glasses to see the world, and to see that the whole world is putting on the Rebbe's glasses should take us and should bring us to a Merdeka Seder. Just that alone, just the idea alone, of the world living out everything the Rebbe said would happen, and the world finally catching on to the Rebbe's way of thinking. And we're standing at the center of this. It's Mezaka and Mechayev in an Merdeka Oifen, expecting and to really take us to a very, very lofty level. So l'chaim l'bracha, l'chaim.
Also geworden ist im Sefer Kislev. Was? Verbringen ist das Jud Kislev. Warte mal schauen.
My modern the Rabbi was speaking about before in the Sikha. It speaks about them, the Shefer Gadol being Agila Yechidah Shabanach. And when a Yid is standing in a
Chona, you next.
In a matzav of Gila Yechidah Shabanach, so they're looking for what to do with this Gila Yechidah. That's what the Rebbe said. That choice nutzen, to utilize this in the proper way, and the people in the general Jewish world are nevuchim, confused. They don't know which way to look, looking for guidance. and the ones that feel this is Eirus don't really know what to do with it, and the ones that are able to provide that, the Yidden Shemer Teira mitzvahs, to be able to give people the hadracha in which that Yidden Yechida could taka be revealed b'peil mamish. But the emes is that the Gili Yechida is by us also, in the same way. In other words, the Eis Rotzen that there is now, that the Rebbe spoke about, the same Eis Rotzen, whatever it was before, so every one of us sitting around this table also has the same Eis Rotzen, and what there was before this last Shefer Godel, and after this last Shefer Godel, so should the people that got drafted in the army, so then they had a total change in their life. They went away from the home, they put on the uniform, they took their gun, and then they went and they fought, and some of them, Rahman, didn't come back either. But they were putting their lives on the line. So the ones, so that, told before we had the story of Hashka Gansberg, that when he came, days of Friedrich Rebbe, so he came, his mishpacha was in Eretz Yisrael, and he came to learning about the Friedrich Rebbe in Yeshiva. This is Tavshin Ches, and the war broke out, the War of Independence, to the Medina. So his father wrote him a letter and said, "Your brothers are fighting and they're risking their lives in the Milchama, and how could it be that you're over there and you leave them over there fighting? You have to join them to fight." He says, "For sure you're going to ask the Rebbe, and you should come home and fight also." So he wrote in the Friedrich Rebbe. Friedrich Rebbe answered him that the worst thing in the military is a person is a deserter. He deserts his post. He said, "Your brothers, their post is in Eretz Yisrael and fighting Pashut Kipshuta." He says, "Your post is over here learning yeshiva, and you're not allowed. They're not allowed to abandon their post. You're not allowed to be a deserter, and you're also not allowed to be a deserter. The David to put you here, and this is where your job is, and you're fighting over here by learning yeshiva. So each of us is also on our post. And the shaila is that you go and you have to go and tell you what's happening, what's news in Eretz Yisrael, and how fast are they folding, and are they folding? I remember those sichas, long sichas. Was the Rebbe talking to with the sichas? That was much different as Beirim the Rebbe gave over the years. But if not that the Eibishter decided to put you in the Neshama and in this goof instead of another goof, then we'd all be sitting there with guns. Too bad the guy would be standing next to me and I'm holding a gun, then I wouldn't know what to do with it. No, but they teach him what to do with it. But the shinui that our brothers are going through in Eretz Yisrael, I'm not talking about the ones that are fighting. The ones wherever you are, wherever people are living, the whole lives were nishtanim mekotza lekotza from the whole Eretz Yisrael. And such a shinui should be reflected in us, in our individual. We have our post. Everybody has their own post. And Rabbi Nu said about everything that Rabbi said is like it could have been written today. So I think it's even more than that. In a certain way, the things that it says in Tanya. So it says with the tzaddik, Yatem b'chayei. The Seichel HaPoshet, everything that the Rebbe said through the years, is much more now. I mean, the Yalkut Shemeni. Just so funny. His father hung up on the wall 770 Yalkut Shemeni. Yeah. Everybody knows the story over there. The Rebbe saw Yalkut Shemeni. I said, why didn't he add the next two lines over there? Shona Shemelech HaMashiach Niglaba. So what does it say over there in Yalkut Shemeni? So it comes the Melech Paras. He's going to make a war with Melech Harvi. So Rebbe Taisha Boma then, there was about a Gulf War. The Gulf War, who was making war? Saddam Hussein. Bovel, Paras, Iceberg, Goldberg, what is it? So the Rebbe Taisha. It's the Persian Gulf. The whole area is called the Persian Gulf. So maybe you could call Saddam Hussein eyes in Iraq, and Iraq is Bovel. So it fits to say Melech Paras. Good. Who's the Melech Arvi? Kuwait. So he invaded Kuwait. Fine. Kuwait is also another Arab. Good. So Melech Arvi. Okay.
I'm not sure Melech, but
Yeah, they have it. Whatever he is, kleiner Melech, crazy. So today, for Daphnish kin der Rashi mit Zivse, Melech Poras. It was macht the ganze Droge. This is the Poras. And so Hebt on Echet was with Melech Arvi, the big Arvi, with Saudi Arabia. The whole thing, everything, Mamish Kipshute. And in terms of the Rebbe said in the Sikha, quoted before from Shabbos Bereshis, after the 6 Day War, that the Rebbe spoke about the two world wars and the two world wars and the 6 Day War and the Seirus. The Seirus now is coming poshet. Not only mitzad the neshama, it's coming mitzad seichel. Mitzad seichel, the Jewish people received two tremendous claps. One clap was on the day Shmini Atzeres itself, with the whole invasion, with the whole massacre over there. And the next clap came right afterwards, when you see that all over that the world hates us. Okay. So I told her, it was upset. A lady was speaking with, she said she can't believe it. How are they acting like this in the university? She's in this academic environment, this and that. So I said, listen, dress like me for a week and you'll see. I mean, nobody can tell that you're Jewish over there. So I had things thrown at me in the street over here, years ago. Went to the police station, they left. Okay, but the idea that they're forcing people into their Jewish identity in a way that ein le'ach v'reya never happened. I mean, it happened. Not here. Other places it happened. But everything which was said, the Rebbe said, Purim Tavshem Mem Zayin. The part of the Sikh over there before. Purim Tavshem Mem Zayin was unbelievable bombas. A number of Yonim Ikri, the Rebbe was Mazman Nefa bringing. But one of the things, one of the Sikhs, the Rebbe was speaking about the Floyd, the Rebbe said, why is it that he speaks so much about Mashiach? He said, he didn't see by the other Rebbeim that they spoke so much about Mashiach like he speaks about Mashiach. And the Rebbe gave a smile. I was at the Rebbe gave a smile. He said, not only that, B'didi hava uvda. He said, I also used to not speak so much about Mashiach. B'didi hava uvda. So what's happened? The Rebbe said, we see that the world is ready. We see the world is ready. What did the Rebbe bring up? Sarai, the world is ready. He said, Shem mitzvah b'nei neach. They're going benketach for hadracha. Where the Rebbe saw this, I know it didn't nicht Next section, the Rebbe says that people could ask. We see certain things that we want to say what comes from Mashiach, but we see such ra in the world like we never saw before. The Rebbe said, "Milchamas achzories, marvelous harai in the achzories." Elamai, nobody knows about it, nobody talks about it because it's all the way on the other end of the world. So meret nicht wegen them. But in the Far East and the South, or the Africa, wherever it is, that the people don't know, people talk, but the Lashon Achzorius, you can listen to the Sikha, it's a weekday Sikha. Torah. The Achzorius, but even Mavil, ain't Peitza Pem Mitzavtzev. Nobody says anything about it, nobody objects. Then he says, on the other hand, you go and you see Tev, but Eif Nifla B'Yeser, you see in Yonim Shal Chesed, they're also marvelous harayin. We didn't see people doing such a tzedakah in Chesed. The Rebbe said, this is clear in the war from Daniel, that at the end of Golus, right before the Gil in Mashiach, Yisbaru, Yislabnu, Yitzor for Rabbi. That's the process of Yisbaru, Yislabnu, Gvorim, that the Ra comes out clear and the Tev comes out clear. Now, whatever was going on in Tavshem Mem Zayin, you compare it to what it is today. Did the Ra come out clear? Not only the Ra came out clear in Eichos, the Ra came out clear in Kamus, And the Rak came out clear from all of the people's neighbors. You hear from the Shluchim, we're talking about college students. I heard from my daughter's on Shlichus, one of the students over there said, what am I supposed to do? I just found out that my roommate marched in the pro-Palestinian demonstration. Like, how do you sleep with one eye open? Like Mitzrayim, this one's drinking out of one straw and it's blood, and the other one is water. And the people together in the same, intermarried couples, Rahman al-Islam, but the people are coming to recognition that they didn't realize that they're taka Oma Acheres completely. In Seichel HaPashat, the people are realizing the Yisbaru v'Yislabnu, the clarification that's coming. It's almost like the echo that came afterwards is in the eyes of the people. Otherwise, it happened over there, and it's a tragedy, and it hurts. It's our brother, but they're not wearing it on their own skin. Where over here, people are experiencing it personally. So all of the things that I've said, you see, it's much more. The things that were said, poshet eisis machkimes, and the Inyan is that by ourselves, that whatever it was before, and whoever it is, how a person themselves, the cooked ois itzter, how you look how it has to be, how yourself you're supposed to look when there's a gili yechidush benefesh. So I don't know. But a person is different in the Ila Yom Kippur than they are the rest of the year, even by Shachris Yom Kippur. They're different. So evidently now we're all in such a matzav. And the Rebbe said, you go and you take advantage of the Sederus by Yidden, and it's Yidden on the street, and it's Yidden ourselves, everybody looking at ourselves and our own families, and everybody together. And the Oisnutz and the Sederus, the Rebbe said, that Mashiach will come take it from me. That's Sicha, Shabbos Bereishis. That's what the Rebbe said.
What the Rav just said, I shared with him, listening to Fadeng and Avitas Kislev Tavshach Beis, and I don't remember the context, maybe someone remembers and knows, but in the middle, the Rebbe says, Azar Eistruk, there is such an expression, that Nishtakim Zach, that the Yid is not Mahadir in at least one of the Tayyag mitzvahs. Even if the mitzvah that he's Mahadir in is not Yisrael and doing a teva for another Yid, or whether the mitzvah that he's Mahadir in is a mitzvah of Tzedakah, whether the mitzvah he's Mahadir in is a mitzvah to let everybody know that he's a Yid. Everybody should know that he's a Yid. Even if that's the mitzvah, Mahadir, such a thing as a Yid, he's not Mahadir help us in one of the mitzvahs. I'm just what the Rav was saying. L'chaim, l'chaim. Everybody knows that the Rebbe kocht sich in the Mittler Rebbe, the Chavis Hanor. Right? The Mittler Rebbe, his chassidus was based Pashtus Rav, and that right, the expression that if you cut his blood would lead chassidus, and the Mittler Rebbe was like a mufshit Ma'alam Haza even more than other Rebbeim. I saw in at home, Shabbos table, we read stories from Perlov, go through the stories. What's the book? The book? What's it called? It's boring. So it goes, I'll sit there, the Rebbeim, starting from Baal Shem Tov down. What? It's Borslim, yeah, the blue book from Perlov. So anyway, he has a mice like this. He has a mice like this in there, that after the Rebbe's Stalkos, the Balagolas were upset. Because when the Mittler Rebbe would take a trip with the Balagola to get to wherever, to get to the train station in the next city, he'd take whatever money he had in his pocket and give it to the give it to the Balagola. What's the expression? The Gemara where doesn't know the Tzidus Matei. Just give it. So the Balagola would make a nice get a nice tip. But Tzemach Tzedek was more diet and wanted to get change and tipped them accordingly. So the Balagolas were upset. So there's a nice in there. Right? That was famous, the Chavis Hanor.
How much did the Tzemach Tzedek
I don't remember. There's something in there. Can I reingucken in a minute? I don't know. I don't think
Maybe
it's
depended on the service.
That's possible. Maybe they said it says line like, this is not a real Rebbe or something. It says Lashon like that, but he quotes there that the Balagola said. It says that expression like that. Anyway, right, Tzemach Tzedek was a Weltmensch, traveled to involve with politicians and statesmen and so on. That was in the world of Chassidus. Now, Mitzvah also, along with that, actually the first mitzvah, if you think about it that way, that Mitzvah fought when he took on the Nesius was to fight against Chitzonius. The first campaign was to separate where Shittas Chabad is, as opposed to the breakaway with Aaron Strashella. Right, and the Mittler wrote the Kuntusai Spilus then, right, the Kuntusai Spilus, in which he explains what the real Spilus is. And over there, the Mittler goes on and on and on and on to describe negating any form of chitzonistic expression that's not mamish 100%, connected to a pneumistic hargosha, anything that's chitzonis. He's in a battle. Right, but the Alter Bis Davin was a lot of Tnuis Chitzonis, was a lot of movement. But there was Davin, right? What's nice, he would bang his stories. Right, but there would bang his yeah, with his knuckle. Doing this apek, holding back his rakshas, because he didn't want any Chitzonis to with Balavala Shmua. Yeah, and Biftik Maisa.
All good.
Okay. So on the one hand, you have this idea that the Chavis Hanar, or just Chassidus. On the other hand, the Mitzvah was also fighting against Chitzonius. So the Kenzogin, maybe you could say something like this, and this gets back to what we were talking about earlier, the idea of putting on the Rebbe's glasses and seeing the world the way the Rebbe wants us to see the world, seeing another Yid the way the Rebbe wants us to see another Yid, putting on the Rebbe's glasses, getting to see the world the way the Rebbe sees it. There is. Chassidus talks about that everything has three components, right? You have the Pnimi, you have the Chitzoni, and you have the Makif. All are necessary. If you have the cup here, you have the Pnimius in here, which is holding the mashka. You have the Chitzonius, which is what the other, the Makabel, right? There's a few days ago, Tanya, that Makabel takes from the Chitzonius of the higher, right? So the Makabel, me, I have to hold the Chitzonius of the cup. I can't call it the Pnimius of the cup. And through the Chitzonius, I get to the Pnimius, right? And then there's the Makif. There's the table, the context in which the cup is sitting. So everything has its Chitzonius, its Pnimius, and its Makif. And making this point, because it's important to understand the difference between Chitzonius and Makif. They're not the same thing. Even though Makif is not Pnimi, Makif is not Chitzoni either. Chitzoni, in its best form, is the kalim in which you express your feelings. So, as Chassidim, the oisis at tefillah is the chitzonius, not the chitzonius in the negative sense. Watch it in the physical sense. It's the chitzonius, it's the words you're saying. The pnimi is the kavanah and the avavir that's put into the words. And so what's makif? Makif is a different avodah. Makif is an avodah where, as opposed to pnimi, where the person has to take into consideration vueh state, where he's standing, where he's holding, and work through it, and think about it, and change it, and where's right and where's wrong, and what's correct and what has to be fixed and what doesn't have to be fixed. Makif is where the person completely loses his own sense of what he thinks about himself and just puts himself into the inyan itself, the thing itself, the emes itself, completely lifts him out of wherever situation he's in. It's a mashal gashmi is if you want to fill this cup up, right? There's two ways you can do it. You can take this cup and go to the sink, or you can take the cup and throw it into the ocean. In both cases, the cup is equally full. In fact, you can make the argument that the cup is more full in the ocean than it is when you fill it up with a tap. Because if in the tap, if you had a hole right here in the cup, it would only fill up to there. Because when you're going with pneumius and you're putting water into the cup, then you have to take into consideration the keli. Is the keli appropriate, not appropriate? Where does it have to be fixed? Where does it have to be? And then you can be makabel accordingly. But if you put the cup into a makifi, just throw it into the ocean, and the ocean fills up the cup no matter where the cup is. Whether the cup is there or not there, the ocean goes. And the cup just has to let go and let itself be filled and carried by the ocean. So, and in limud achsidus, you also have these two efanim, right? There's if you will, all three efanim actually. You have the chetzonis of limud achsidus. You have to push the havana, understand the geography of Teder Shtashlas and understand what comes before what, right? Which level comes before which level, what goes higher than what level. Just, the chetzonis take a very you have to understand. Then there's the pnimi, the avodah shebedavar, the havana shebedavar. What does it mean in all these levels? Why does one level come before the other? And what's the havana of it? And even more bepnimius, what's the avodah shebedavar? What's the avodah of each level? And how does each level inform a specific area of my life? Then there's Indian makif learning chassidus. They call it learning b'shufi. Just learning a lot of chassidus. What does learning a lot of chassidus do? What does it do to the person? You can identify a specific thing that changed. A person learns a lot of chassidus, lav dafka. But a person learns a lot of chassidus, over time there's a difference. And sometimes that difference is much bigger than the small pneumistic changes that a person made in his avodah, whatever he was dealing with in his particular issues. Because a person, let's go of his previous hanachas, let's go, like the cup that goes into the ocean, forgets how he thought, or what he thinks about himself and the world, and where he is holding, where he's not holding, and the Vav completely throws himself into the limud achsidus and just lets the limud achsidus itself take you. So the person goes to a different place. It's a makiftik thing, but not chitzonis chas v'shalom. It's not a chitzonistic thing. The cup that's in the ocean is very full. It's very full, and everything about the person is filled with that inyan. But it's filled in such a way where it's prinas makif, where he lets go of himself and just let himself get carried by the limud achsidus, by the chassidus itself. And in the middle of his chassidus b'shufi, you have that kipshutai. You have membarim that go for pages and pages and pages and pages and pages about the same thing, and lav dafka is any avodah in those pages and pages. Right? And you can't read them slowly. There is membarim you can read very slowly. You can read a line and another line and go back and forth and what's the main in this. But these membarim you go in and you just read and you go with it. You let yourself go into the flow of what the chassidus is saying. And if you put yourself into that kind of lumud, when you're done, you find yourself in a different place than you were when you started. Because your machshava is different, the glasses you have are different. You put on chassidus glasses. You forgot about how you thought, and you forgot about what the world meant to you before you started, and now the world is a different world, because you just swam in chassidus for the last hour, or however long the person himself throws himself into that kind of lumud. And b'derenu zeh, it's pikama. In our generation, it's much, much more. Where I see this, I can't remember who said this. The Baal Shmuel. That the Rebbe said about the Rebbe even said it about the Fidik Rebbe, that you see each of the Rebbeim the way they are in the Rebbe. Right, so the Rebbe speaks about the Marash as L'chatchila Rebbe. I don't know the Rebbe Marash's personal history so much, but the Rebbe was definitely L'chatchila Rebbe, that's for sure. Right, the Rebbe speaks about Tzemach Tzedek as combining Nigla and Chassidus. Not such a grace, verstehen in Tzemach Tzedek's Torah, but if you open a look at the Sichos, it's all over the Yichud of Nigla and Chassidus. So the Rebbe speaks about the Rebbeim, it's really, and the Rechavis Anar, that this idea of being able to this learning by Makifi, to forget about how you think and to forget about what you thought and where you are and where you not are, just throw yourself into the Torah. The Rebbe made that available in a way that other Rebbeim didn't. Because you have tapes. Because you have tapes and videos. and you put on the Fabrengen, and you go into the Fabrengen. Tip: if you're driving for a long time, you know where to go, you know who to talk to, do it, and you listen and listen. It doesn't even if you're not coming with an agenda, you want to forget. If you have an agenda, then you're ruining the whole thing. There's no agenda. Just go into the Fabrengen, let the Fabrengen take you wherever it's taking you, and you walk out with a whole different hashkafas olam. Everything you're talking about before, a yid is a real thing, and Hashem is a real thing. Torah is MS. The world is David's garden. It's a beautiful place, and Mashiach is coming, and all the things you learn about just become like normal and real when you're finished the Fabrengen, because you swim inside the Rebbe's thinking for a few hours. It just from Akifi just takes you into a different place. You think it differently. You have different glasses on. You have different everything you thought you knew about the world is ice. The Yitzhar is a Klugenkerk, and you can disappear very quickly, and that's the drawback of Makif, right? That's why a person needs to have a Veda Pnimi. In the Fidik B'Sichos, there's a story like that about Fidik was sitting in the sukkah, and a piece of schach fell down and hit someone. Fidik said that sometimes the Makif also hacks around in the Pnimis. Such a lashon. Right, so that's the drawback of Makif, is that when you're over, you're out of the experience, and it didn't change you for real. And that Veda Pnimis is important, so that way you can actually take home some of these things that you throw yourself into. But this l'chuda, it seems to me at least, this idea of the Chavis HaNor, being able to just go in the flow of the Rebbe's Torah, is something that the Rebbe made available to us, Pashut by the tapes, Pashut B'Gashmis, being able to put on a Fabrengen and spend 3 hours hearing the Rebbe's voice and thinking the way the Rebbe thinks, the way the Rebbe asks, even if the Rebbe's learning a Hadrin. The Rebbe's teaching a Hadrin. At the end of the Hadrin, the ganze Pilpul and Nigla, at the end is going to come out, what's the Nakud of the whole Pilpul? That the Neshama Yisrael are the best thing. And somehow it's not going to be like tangential to the whole Nakuda. The beer that gave the Rebbe's answer to all the questions that he had tells you, and the Neshama Yisrael is the highest thing that could possibly be. How the Rebbe does that, this is how the Rebbe does it. Even if you're learning Absenyan and Nigla, you could be learning a Gemara. But the way the Rebbe learns it, and the Neshama Yisrael are on fire, and they Kashkach Pratis is a real thing, Yisas B'chol Rega is happening, and Mashiach is coming, and all the things you learn about become real, because you're inside the Rebbe's thinking, and the Rebbe's thinking is real. It's taka real. You see, put the Rebbe's glasses on for a little while.
But the Rebbe didn't make the tapes. Someone else brought the tapes.
The Rebbe let them be there. The Rebbe let them be there. The Rebbe developed. If there's tapes today, it's because the Rebbe wanted tapes. It's like Asma Varentin. What's the lashon in the Mishnah? Everything is like Bar al Choydoi and Kol Yaf V'Yitei Asa lashon pasuk. What's lashon pasuk? Kol.
No help tonight.
Sorry?
You're one man alone.
Oh,
No
Moshe
help.
Barak.
No. Come on, then there's a pasuk. No, everything. They made everything. Kol Asa Yaf V'Yitei. No. That's the pasuk the Mishnah quotes. Another pasuk is that everything is Yafa V'Yitei. If he says about Matan Torah was sorry.
Yeah, Davar V'Yitei Matei.
Right, everything is Davar V'Yitei. That the Matan Torah was at its right time, and tapes were created at its right time, and internet was created at its right time. Everything's created at its right time for the time that it's necessary for it to exist. And this, the Rebbe allowed us to be able to years later live inside the Rebbe's thinking by listening to Fabrengen. It's a crime. It's a crime if a chassid doesn't do it. It's like, who is it made for? Who is it made for? Why were all these tapes made? Why was recordings made? Why was videos made? If a chassid doesn't them. Who is it made for? For what? My shver likes to say, my shver in Australia likes to say, and he's mashpia in Mesivta in Australia. So the Bachman flight for Tishrei to New York, likes to say that all the people that are flying on the plane with you to Australia are only flying to make your flight cheaper. David created flights and planes so that you could travel to the Rebbe. But in order for the system to run, if it was only flying for you, it would cost you an arm and a leg. So David said, that other people, what?
Wall Street. Wall Street.
My shver says that about Wall Street?
No, the Rebbe says
The Rebbe said Wall Street? That was all made for the youth to make stucca, that's right. To be able to make it, that's right. So that's why this iPhone was made. That's why millions of human beings have iPhones. It's like you can have an iPhone with all the Rebbe's and listen to it. And it's partially a crime against everything that the Rebbe is if we don't take advantage of the Rechavis and the Rebbe left us. Pashat hours and hours and hours. You can swim inside the Rebbe's machshava. Pashat for hours. And you can. I just went by the kindness now. I was talking to some shluchim, and one of my friends tells another one of my friends, says, before you go fundraising, this is what he does. He listens to a little bit of Fabrengen. Doesn't matter what the Fabrengen is about. Before he goes fundraising, listen to a little bit of Fabrengen. Why? Because the confidence that the Rebbe speaks, the way that the language the Rebbe speaks, the oifen that the Rebbe speaks, is with such a confidence that you walk out thinking like, what? You're going to spell from this? What are you talking about? Of course, I'm the Rebbe Shliach, I need money. With the confidence, he can go and fundraise. Doesn't make a difference what the sikha is about. He's listening to a sikha before he goes fundraising because he needs he wants a pep talk. He can give himself a pep talk, give himself a little confidence booster. So listen to a hadran. Doesn't make a difference what the sikha is. But the oifen that the Rebbe speaks, and the way the Rebbe looks at things, the way the Rebbe asks a kasha, the way the Rebbe answers a question, it's like Pasha takes you to a different world, and everything you thought you knew was right. There's ice, and now there's the Rebbe's glasses, and you see everything completely differently. Leave your emily that this is the Recheves HaNorish with the Reinu. The Rebbe allowed us to. It's not just learn from his Torah. The Rebbe always had learning from the Torah. And you have to look at the Torah and think about it and understand it. The Rebbe lets us go into his zerem HaMachshava, the flow of his thoughts. And the Fabrengens, you can tell sometimes by the Fabrengens, there's always a theme, there's always a structure to the Fabrengen, but a lot of times you see the Rebbe's thought going from one thing to the other, and then it loops back, the Rebbe will drop something, and then 3 seconds later pick it up and finish what he said earlier, and then that same thing at the end answers a shayla in the Hadran. You see the Rebbe's Mahalach HaMachshava, and the Rebbe's own personal Recheves HaNor, beyond the Ananav Shiksav, that's true of all Torah. There was own Recheves HaNor expressed in these Fabrengens, in the way he speaks and how he says it and what he says, and it's a chayv and a schus that we have to be able to have this pasha on our fingertips. You can carry all the Rebbe's Torah and all the Rebbe's words in your pocket, 24/7, and anytime you want, you can plug in. So, if we're going to live with the Rebbe's Mittel Rebbe, it would seem to me that this is the way to go. Pasha, to allow ourselves to swim in the Rebbe's Recheves HaNor, to get into the Rebbe's Fabrengens, listen to the Rebbe's Fabrengens, let yourself get carried away by the Rebbe's Fabrengens, and forget how you thought and what you did and what you didn't. Else, everything becomes irrelevant when you're inside the zerem HaMachshava of the Rebbe's Recheves HaNor.
That's what the Mittel Rebbe said to the Chosid. He says, Zwiebeln von der Bellung, das ist Chazer. That's the Mittel Rebbe talk. Just do what you have to do. He relates to it, you relate to it, it doesn't make a difference. That's no Chazer. Schon nicht mehr fertig ist dabei, ja? No?
What?
Your brother is, no?
My older brother is turning 40. Ellen. If the white hair counts, then. What?
How do you know his brother's turning 40?
Yeah, I think my brother's turning 40.
Was?
Oh, he was just
Das
joking.
ist ja noch heim.
Oh, he was just joking.
Oh,
No, so ist noch ein bisschen heim, that's all.
yeah. L'chaim v'rach l'chaim. Another nakuda in this same kav, something that Rabbi Zalman just mentioned, the word from the Rebbe that the Rebbe Chazer is. Tzibul is often very nice, or Chassidus also Chazer. Right? But this expression, the Shadar was traveling to share Chassidus in the Yeshuvim and complained that he's getting to his yeshus, he's feeling too good about himself. And the Rebbe said, no, so be an onion, Zolzan, whatever, but you have to have a job to do, get the job done. The Rebbe was talking about earlier about soldiers in Eretz Yisrael who are changing their lives when akotza lakotza. Citizens who, fathers and husbands, were all of a sudden carrying guns and ready to die out Kiddush Hashem, and some type of dude, Rahman al-Islam, and lived and died in the highest life in a person can, like the Rebbe said, dying al Kiddush Hashem to save, to protect Eretz HaKodesh and Am Kodesh. That's the lashon I think they ever used. So there's actually this Fabrengen once, I can't remember when it is, they were talking about how everything the person does is L'Shem Shemayim, right? The coast from Rambam, that the person eats, and he's eating because he wants to, it's Nehos Deus, right? He's eating because he wants to have the energy to learn later, then his eating is Avodas Hashem, right? There's similar things in Tanya, it's Ma'ala, no, this is from Chassidus, but it's Ma'ala the Oichel, Chulun. So the Rebbe says there that this is all, the avodah comes later, but the avodah requires your eating and sleeping before. So when it comes to eating, okay, so there could be a kavanah in the eating. So the eating itself could be an avodah. I actually just heard, just recently I was listening to a shir from Farkash in Argentina. He's giving an overview of the Rebbe Rashab's Kontresim, and he said that the Rebbe Rashab wanted to write a kontres as part of the series, Kunst Avodah, Kunst Tefillah, Kunst Eitz Chaim. It's like in the series a little bit. The Rebbe Rashab wanted to write a kontres called Kunst Achila. So I don't know how we would handle that, but he said it. I didn't. But we're still working on Kunst Avodah. The point is that the Achila can also be an Avodah. The Kavanahs, when it comes to sleeping, the Avodah in sleeping, the Avodah Hashem, sorry?
The Kudus Eitz Chaim is Mitzad Achila. Story that the guy.
We said that's like a drop.
It's in there, but most Eitz Chaim's not about that, but yeah.
Yeah, what? Yecholtzu. Not Yecholtzu.
The mosque, whatever, no? No, it's not Echoltzu?
Oh, the red thing. Not the red.
Obviously, Stroll wasn't for them.
Obviously, Sirol's in
Is that what you're talking about?
yeah. Upon them, so when it comes to sleeping, though, the Rebbe says that in this Fabrengen, I can't remember where it is, that it's more difficult to say that the sleeping itself is an Avodas Hashem. It's only you need the energy to later serve the Eibishter. Like the Rambam says there, that the Nimsa Shinazu is Avodah because you're sleeping, and then later you can use that energy to serve the Eibishter. But the Rebbe said it would be much more geschmack if you could find an ofen that the sleeping itself was Avodas Hashem. So the Rebbe goes on to say that, I found a dogma where sleeping itself could be an avodah. What?
Nice questions in dreams.
Oh yeah? Okay, Shalosh Min HaShamayim. The Rebbe didn't say that in Fabrengen.
The episode on station, you learn so much that means.
That was the last second close to Bacher. The Rebbe said that the Bacher should learn so much that he choloms in learning. So this Fabrengen Rebbe said that he found a dogma for someone who's sleeping, and the sleeping itself could be avodah from a soldier. Because when a soldier sleeps at his post, so the enemy on the other side doesn't know if he's awake and sleeping. But the enemy on the other side is afraid to do anything because there's a soldier there. The soldier sleeping, they finished. But the etzem mitzias, asadah soldat, is already significant enough to deter the enemy. So in a soldier, you can see this idea that the sleeping itself is avodah. Avodah is not ferois in the nimshal. What does that mean? Lapoil. Open to interpretation, you're welcome to suggest, but in the Psicha there is in Firois, what that means in Avodas Hashem and how exactly you translate that. But Kenida, talking about this idea of Atzibol, that's the soldier's attitude. Where the soldier's holding in his life is not Negeah. And what you think about it and what you feel about it is not Negeah. Negeah is you were trained and do your training. That's all that's nakeya. Akdim Mesiris Nefesh. It's a similar thing to talk about before, this inyan makifi. Not inyan makifi in Chas Shalom to negate pneumias, but in the sense that it's completely beyond it. So it's not about me anymore. It's about the avodah. It's about the mission. You're a soldier. You have to sleep now. You sleep now. You're awake now. You have to be awake now. You have to shoot. You have to shoot. You have to stand. You have to stand. Mach b'shtois. How you're feeling about it, whether you like it, you don't like it, whether you thought it was a good idea, didn't think it was a good idea, is irrelevant. The man has his post, like the Rav was saying earlier, and the man takes his post. And this oifen of avodah is in some ways maybe the way is the shvi chiddush of avodah. The Rebbe's chiddush in avodah. The Rebbe speaks about everybody being a shliach. The Rebbe says everybody's a shliach. The Rebbe's not being acute. You know, if you don't have a job as a shliach, it's not your title. You don't get a badge. So it's making you feel good and tells you you're a shliach. That was not cute like that. The Rebbe says everybody's a shliach. He's means it literally. And l'chorah, what the Rebbe is teaching us is not so much a title, so much as telling you how to think about yourself, how to think about your avodah. So Amol, there was an Ovid, there was a Maskell, there's all kinds of different siyudim. And the Rebbe came along and said, shliach, forget your tzir, forget where you're standing, whether you're a tzibula, you're not a tzibula. There's a mission you have to get done. It doesn't matter where you happen to be in life. So, we never say everybody's a shliach. It doesn't mean bacharim, not bacharim, except for bacharim, because they're not doing afatza. What's that done? His shlichus now is to show up on time for Seder. Fine. So this guy's shlichus now is to make a living and support his family and raise chassidish children. It is not telling you, at least this is my understanding, it's not saying what the shlichus is per se. But the ikr mean that you are a shliach. There's a few sikhs that speak about the difference between being a shliach and doing the shlichus. In the last Kimshah Shluchim, Pashin Beit, he speaks about this. That the ikr of it is actually being a shliach. It's a mahalach and machshava. It's not about me. It's about the mission. I'm a soldier. Your soldier has a post and he has to do it. So this guy's post is to learn. This guy's post is to be a good father, and this guy's post is to be mekadav yidden, and this guy's post is to get tzedakah. But it's a mahalach and machshava. It's not about me and where I'm standing. But the Indian, that symbol is also for the Veren. That's the word. This would seem to me is the word that I was trying to convey when he says that everybody's a shliach. Not being nice to make you feel good about yourself. That also, everybody likes making people feel good. But there was also telling us a mahalach machshava, how to think about our avodah. That your avodah is because you're a shliach, and the shliach is now to daven for 4 hours and daven the 4 hours because that's the shlichus. The shlichus now is to learn chassidus. The shlichus now is to sit with the family and sit with the family, whatever the shlichus is. And this is the oisfid that was talking about the sleeping coming from the model of the soldier. The shlichus now is to go to sleep for a couple of hours, then you go to sleep for a couple of hours, because that's the shlichus. It's a mahalach machshava, you think about everything. It's a 24/7 thing. It's not a shiloh of what I'm doing or where I'm going, but who I am. How do I see myself? I see myself as your shlichus. It's the same tnuah of throwing yourself into forgetting about where I stand, where I don't stand, like the cup that's being thrown into the ocean. What's in the gaya? The gaya, you're bigger, you're smaller, you have a hole in it, what's the difference? Throw yourself into the ocean and be absorbed by it. There's a shlichus, there's a mission. We have to bring the shechina down the mata ba'aretz. So you have to varsach the shlichus. Okay, so what the particular shlichus that you're going to have is, okay, so everybody got to talk to their mashpia and figure out what exactly the particulars of his shlichus is going to be. But l'chol roish, sign up that you're a shliach. You're enlisted. That's aleph. And then you'll find out what your post is. You'll find out what the post is. Whether your mashpia will tell your post is to do X, to Y, Z, whatever the post happens to be. But the ikr is actually not the post. The ikr is the enlisting. The ikr is the showing up. Right? It's the moeda'ani tnuah. As opposed to spending the whole day to work through to make sure you have a krishma that's perfect, so you can look back at your day and say, this was a day where I did avodah. It's a fakir tnuah. First of all, moeda'ani lefanecha. And from there comes out that I bazoid, after davening, and after learning, and hanig b'em minig derech eretz, whatever the Shulchan Aruch tells me to do. But it's not, you're doing all those things to work up to a perfect kriyish mashal amita. It's fakert. It starts out with moeda'ani lefanecha. I'm enlisted. It's aleph. And now that I'm enlisted, what's the shlichus? What's the mission? What's my post? But this tnuah of rein werfen der Inyan, rein werfen in the shlichus, enlisting. A friend of mine is a Shmuel Shores, Mashpia in Altair today. So he says a word like this, and it's a true word. He says, the Bachram making faces. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So he says a word like this, it's a richtig word. That the Alter writes in Tanya Perek Yud, that the highest level that a normal person could expect is l'ravis nafshe atzmeya. That's the expectation. The expectation is that you think about yourself. So what's the expectation? That yourself should want a lukus. L'ravis nafshe atzmeya. That you should have a nefesh atzmeya l'lukus, and l'ravis nafshe atzmeya you turn mitzvahs. And that's the whole Tanya, to educate you to have a l'ravis nafshe atzmeya. I don't know if the whole Tanya, but certainly from Perek Malaf onward, that's pretty much the objective there. To teach you to have a nefesh smeya, and then l'ravis nafesh smeya by Torah mitzvahs, by serving the Eibishter. Because beyond that, you can't expect from a normal person. A normal person, fragt wegen sich, okay, so educate sich, so haben a nefesh smeya. A tzaddik, which is b'nei aliyah, so his avodah is l'tzerech kavoya, and lo l'ravis nafesh smeya levad, but to be miyachet kuchi b'rech shchinte, to mashach shchinte ba'aretz. And the Rebbe came along and said, this da'aga of tzedek kavoya b'nei aliyah, everybody in Der Hashvi. Everybody in Der Hashvi. Everybody in Der Hashvi is to completely forget about Vuah state, whether he has a nefesh atzmeya or not nefesh atzmeya, he has to enlist. He speaks about in Kama Sichos that the lowest level of Kabbalah Soil is connected to the highest level. The highest level of tzedek kavoya, where the person has no zich and it's all for the Eibish's kavanah, is connected to the lowest level. Because lowest level is the guy's Kabbalah oil, doesn't feel anything, doesn't like anything, doesn't enjoy it. So why is he doing it? For the Eibishter. All the levels in the middle, the center is the zich. But what does zich want? Zich wants a nefesh l'ravis nafesh atzmeya, zich wants to be an ovid, zich wants to be a maska, whatever the zich wants. That's all in the middle levels. But the lowest level, where the person's zich is far learning, and does what he has to because Azeh is the Eibishter, and the highest level, where he does what the Eibishter wants, it's tzaddik tzedek kavoya. There's a number of places that Rebbe connects these two levels. Rebbe turned this oifen havoda into like, this is the way it's got to be. This is the Der Hashvi. Varv Sachar and the Inyan, throw yourself into the Rechibus Hanor, this makif. This makif is not to negate Pnimi Chasrom. It's a step higher in a way. It takes all of Pnimi and takes it to a whole other level. Atzvus Fresh Day, like this Atzvus Tzava, that the Etzem Nefesh should go into the Pnimi. That's the Maimer at the end, right? That the way I think should be durch Genum and durch the Etzem Nefesh. That how I think is also because this is the shlichus. It's about showing up as a soldier and listening. What the post is going to be, we'll find out later. Listen to the Fabrengen. What's going to come out at the end of the Fabrengen? Basic nicht. But you throw yourself into the Inyan. Perhaps the Inyan, in the Rechibus Anar. They ever created a world. They created a world. And in this world, Mashiach's coming. And in this world, the Neshamas Yisrael are on fire. In this world, there's Teres Emes and Teres Chaim. And you have a choice. Go in or don't go in. It's the only choice in life. To be in the Rebbe's world or not be in the Rebbe's world. Those are the choices. And if you decide to enlist and be in the Rebbe's world, everything opens up. Everything opens up. You see Neshamas differently. You see Torah differently. You see a mitzvah differently. You see the world differently. You see everything different. Everything you do is different. Everything you do is meaningful. Everything you do is important. It's all because you've enlisted. And if you're enlisted, then when you're sleeping, also it's on a mission. Because you signed up to be part of the Rebbe's world. L'chaim v'l'racha. Thank you all for your endurance.
Good. I went one time I was teaching, I came here. I went to the kids. I opened the Bible.
It's not like there was nothing empathetic to be. Listen, if I care, everybody's saying how there was empathetic and fine with them and all the stories you hear. And it's the same person who's showing up at Fabrengen and clapping and singing and insisting that the David's garden and the Mashiach is coming tomorrow morning and the world's the best and everything's amazing. It's like sakshonas. Sakshonas. It's an incredible thing.
It's all there.
It's all available.
Yeah, for sure. Tomorrow's the Fabrengen.
Good to see you, Yantif, yeah.
Tomorrow's the Fabrengen.